Welcome to Vets to PM's Military Transition Academy podcast, the show where we discuss how to succeed in transitioning from the military service to the civilian workforce. This show and the academy it represents helps veterans transition into meaningful, lucrative post-service careers. Your primary host is Eric Doc Wright, PhD, certified manager, military veteran, serial founder, best-selling business author, philosopher, linguist, and coach. Your other host is Jeremy Burdick, project management professional, scrum master, product owner, and retired Air Force chief, and the current COO of Vets to PM and the Professional Development Unit University, where we will interview veterans successful in corporate America and business to bring you nuggets of wisdom every episode to make you more successful. Next, let's introduce today's guest. Our guest today was Misty Moreno, and she is the mother to Maximus, wife to Johnny. Misty and Johnny have been married for 16 years. Misty retired from the Air Force after 20 years. She finished her career at U.S. Air Force's Central as the Executive Assistant to Manpower Personnel Services Commander. Misty is a LinkedIn success story, and she is recruited by Continental in June of 2020. She's a human relations business partner and manager of the HR operations office, working directly with the organization's senior leadership to develop and direct an HR agenda that closely supports organizational goals. Oh, by the way, she's also a project manager. Before retiring, Misty utilized Vets to PM to achieve her PMP certification. She also utilized the career services offered by Kathy, the amazing Kathy, to help create a resume that accurately reflected her military experience in civilian terminology. In March of 2021, Misty reached out to Vets to PM to discuss creating an HR certification prep course, which she did, by the way, and it launched in September of 2021. She's an instructor for the PMP Bootcamp Plus program, as well as her mission to help veterans fight a different battle on a new battlefield, and she does that through her social media and course offerings.
You know, as we branch out beyond project management, because I think our veterans deserve it. Not everybody wants to grow up and be a project manager just because they could or did, right? There's other meaningful, lucrative careers out there. And the fact that you transition from a senior to an HR professional with your course and everything, I mean, it's just a tribute to that. It's an awesome opportunity. And I think a lot more seniors and junior officers qualify for that career field. They don't even know it's a career field. You know what I mean? Yeah. So anyway, I'm stoked that you've joined us. It's an awesome
Thank you.
Yeah, it's so cool to have you, Misty. You know, what you've done is you've created an entire career pathway for veterans to kind of see themselves, reinvent themselves, and push themselves into a pipeline that takes care of them and utilizes the experience that they earned, right? And that they've put forward through the years of service. And now we can codify that with a certification that's a quick win for them. So I don't know, maybe tell us why you thought the aPHR was the place to start.
So when I decided to validate my HR experience, I looked at both certifications, so the SHRM route and the HRCI route, and I decided to go with the SHRM route at first. And so I did my application and was definitely accepted. I was audited, but that was easy to take care of. And then I went on my journey studying for the SHRM, and they do a learning management system, which was great. And the first thing that I identified immediately about the SHRM certification was that they are literally teaching you every single thing that you need to know about HR. And hopefully when you go on the exam, you'll have questions that deal with those things that you just learned, and then you'll do really well on the exam. And so it was very overwhelming for me to study, and I'm sure that Jeremy is very familiar with like the PDG, you know, you study this hundreds of pages of books of information, and you're like, I hope 100 questions have, you know, stuff that I remember. And that was very similar to what I experienced studying for SHRM. And so I went and I took the test and I failed. And it was the first time in, I think it was 17 years that I failed a test. and I was devastated. I called my husband. I'm like, I'm not cut out for this. Forget it. I'm not going to retire. I can't do this, you know? And I was the one that also took like 19 years to do her bachelor's degree. So I just felt really defeated. And after I had a good couple of days of adult temper tantrums and me and Ben and Jerry got really familiar with each other, I decided to, you know, woman up. Okay, back to the drawing board. I have to validate my experience somehow. And so I decided to research the other level of the SHRM certification. And so I started with the senior level certification exam and I failed. I didn't even come close. It gives you a percentage very similar to the PMP, did not come close to passing at all. And then I decided to take the, you know, the beginner level exam and pass that really quickly. And the test was simple to me. It wasn't easy, but it was simple. And so that's kind of how I started the journey. So then when Doc and I, you know, we connected through PMP, and I told him, you know, hey, if you ever need another instructor or anything like that, let me know. I am HR. And then we reconnected when I told him, hey, I did pass my SHRM exam, you know, but I think we should write a course for not SHRM, because SHRM doesn't do like authorized training partners. And so we looked at the HRCI. And I was like, let me take this one and just see if I can do it. So I kind of wrote up some stuff, started studying on my own, kept it in files, and passed it right away. And I was like, wow, if I had done that in the beginning, I wouldn't have had this time where I felt really self-defeated. I felt like I shouldn't have retired. You know, I really had a lot of regret and a lot of resentment. And I walked out of that exam and I was like, all right, I'm an HR professional now. I'm validated. And I can, you know, now start the journey. And I felt like I had a win under my belt. And that's all that I needed in order to do all these other things that I've had my hands in. And so I said immediately that the HRCI aPHR exam was the one that I would love to write curriculum for, have an on-demand course, and, you know, have Vets to PM host it, because it gave me a quick win. And I think it can give other veterans a quick win too. So that's how we came about the aPHR. And yeah, I think SHRM is great, but SHRM's tactics as far as teaching you everything about HR could be very overwhelming for the military HR professional, and we want some quick wins. And so I believe that HRCI aPHR is the way to go.
You know, Misty, so a couple just really nuanced laced things there. So first of all, for those of you listening or watching, I mean, you know, one of my favorite sayings, I'm an old sailor, right? And now, you know, certified sailboat skipper guy. So calm seas don't make great sailors. Rough seas do. So, you know, much like my own trial and tribulations and verdicts, I mean, some degree of uncomfortableness, of challenge, of adversity makes you better if you live through it, right? Yeah. So you needed those bruises. And oh, by the way, I'll share something with the crowd that's probably not professionally smart, but I felt my CAPM, like the entry-level PM cert. You know why? And you'll appreciate this. Well, actually not. You're going to punch me next time you see me. But because I didn't even read what used to be chapter 10 of the PMBOK guide, like 4th edition or whenever I took it, like they just invented wheels. But I didn't even read it because I'm like, man, I'm 30-something years old. I've been leading projects, all kinds of sizes, all across DOD and all throughout the naval fleet. Like, man, HR, like put teams together, grow them up, take care of them, train them. But I didn't know the terms. I didn't know how PMI thought about HR. I don't think I answered a single HR question right. And because it was such a big knock on my overall score, I mean, because I'm missing deficiency in an entire chapter, like I failed the CAPM. So first of all, it was humbling, right? Because I've never met a professional certification I didn't like. I mean, I've let more certifications lapse than, you know, the average bearer will probably accrue in their lifetime. So that was a big kick in my ego, which I've never done since, right? Mm-hmm. And the second thing is you needed to learn the X's and O's of HR. How do civilians talk about HR? what we call military leadership in uniform, but what they call HR, taking care of the troops, HR. You just needed the terminology. You just needed the fundamental concepts. How do I block and tackle, right? I don't need to go be the director of a Fortune 100 company's HR department. That's not what I'm trying to do. I'm just trying to achieve provable fluency, right? Hey,
Absolutely.
I've got HR experience. Now I know how to talk about that HR experience from my military days in civilian language. And oh, by the way, somebody certified that I know how to talk about it. I mean, literally, I tell vets all the time on extra tab class, it's not even necessarily the cert. Learn to talk like that. Say that you're sitting for the cert. A lot of employers, that's enough. Oh, HRCI has blessed off on you. You're going to take their test. Oh, you must be an HR professional because only HR professionals sit for those exams. I mean, that's easy math. So anyway, really cool story. And I'm glad you shared it with us.
Absolutely. And the aPHR is knowledge-based. And that was really what I needed, because the kind of HR that I do on a day-to-day basis, as far as conflict management and problem solving and strategic alignment of goals and helping people come up with resolutions and mediation, stuff like that. Hey, that's where my military leadership and first sergeant duty, you know, all the good stuff that I've done, and even just being a airman leadership school instructor and in the professional military education realm, I got that. But I need to know the laws, the employment laws, and talk through the terminology, you know, because a lot of the acronyms in, you know, in my company are very different than what they are in the military. So I have to ask questions to make sure I'm not going down the wrong route. So I noticed, even though I did learn quite a bit studying through the SHRM learning management system, it was quite overwhelming for me as far as where I was on my journey. And so I was in the very beginning of my transition and learned the terminology for HR past. And I always say, and Jeremy hears this all the time too, but the magic, at least in my experience, it happens after the certification when you have to do your PDUs or your continuing education units. And so now I was actually just tallying them up, because I have 3 certifications that I have to start submitting PDUs and CEUs for. So I was tallying them up. I keep a track record of them in an Excel document. You know, and I've done like over 1,000 hours of education in the last year. Like that's not just the certification, you know, so the magic happens. And so I've learned the ins and outs of the recruiting process and the ins and out of employment law. And that is through the most basic certification, HRCI aPHR. But hey, in the year that I've gotten it, I've proved myself in the organization. I've been promoted twice, and my salary is $16,000 more than when I started. And although I don't actually care about that stuff, it is important to stress that our mission at Vets TPM is to help vets achieve a lucrative career. And through a certification, I did just that.
Yep.
That is too.
And by the way, sister, if you dig developing and delivering courses, I know a company that has a PDU university, and we would love to have some HR classes. If
Yes. I have
sorry,
it.
JP.
I have it in my calendar.
But sorry, go ahead.
Calendar, April 1st to start my PDUs, because I have all of my industry stuff for the PMP, but I need the basics.
Yeah, we got you covered there for sure.
Yes.
But you said something that I thought was really kind of cool, and I don't want to gloss over it. I get that the bumps in the road do make you a better HR person. So you couldn't get a better creator, one that goes through the SHRM side, then goes to the HRCI side, and then now you've got work experience. You're doing all these thousands of hours of extra stuff. And I know Misty, she's constantly adding value to that course. So each month we're adding new stuff that is based on what she's learned through the process, and she's refined the course a second time. So we're on version 2. So that makes a big difference. But the quick win, I thought that was really, really cool. I mean, we're just psychologically set up to where, you know, you hit a button, you get a donut, you know, and if you can, then you can eat that, then you can move on. And then, so it's those quick wins that help you protect your psyche as well, right? So then you feel good about yourself, and then you move forward, and then you next challenge. And I know Doc talks about this during his extra tap class, where, you know, you're basically setting up chemicals in your brain for happiness based on achieving a small goal. right? So just really cool, really neat statement. Why do you think service members should pursue an HR cert, even if they maybe don't think they are HR?
Yeah, so I always say this, like, just because you're not actually going to be an HR professional, like if you're not going to apply for a generalist or specialist or manager or director job, in some way, shape, or form, you're probably still going to lead, drive, manage people, right? And in the civilian sector. So if you're out of the DoD environment, you are going to have to know employment laws, and you will have to kind of know how you are supposed to be as a manager or leader in order to not get your company in any sort of litigation trouble. It's bound to happen. People sue for several different reasons, but you definitely have to know the rules of the game in order to ensure that you're doing everything that in your power you can do in order to create a fair and consistent environment. And knowing HR terms and knowing employment law will help you do that. And so I tell veterans all the time when I mentor them, hey, if you really want to be a leader in the civilian sector, you probably need to get some sort of education in HR. The aPHR is a great place to start.
Ignorance is no defense when it comes to HR issues, right? If you're the manager, you're an agent of the company. When
Yes.
you screw something up, you're held accountable. And oh, by the way, the company's not going to take the black eye. So they Heisman Trophy you out in front and you get punched. So
Correct.
yeah, and I love what you said about that, Misty. So think about it, right? So, any career, whether you're a veteran or civilian, if you're going to apply yourself in a profession, you're going to get a paycheck for doing X thing, and you want to be the best X thing you can be. I mean, that's the literal definition of a professional. I'm paid to do this, right? So if you're going to do that, I don't care whether you're managing projects or whether you're managing the finance and accounting department or you're managing the warehouse. You nailed it, sister. If it's just one more skill, hey, if part of my job, if part of my responsibility as an agent of this organization is to take care of one of its most strategic assets, my folks, it's folks, not mine, it's folks, I probably should know the basic X's and O's of how to do that in accordance with the people themselves, the law, the company's policy and procedure. And you mentioned it, in the city, it's all about time or money in some shape, form, or fashion. If you spend the time to study and pin on a credential that's tangentially related to your job, hey, I'm the accountant. Yeah, but I know how to manage people because I got an HR cert. You know what I mean? Like that probably results in a wee bit of raise at the end of the year. I mean, so it's just a really good way to demonstrate continued learning and professional development and just add value to the company. And, for me, the hiring equation, speaking of HR, the hiring equation is simple. I'm going to ask you for S, the salary. You want V, value in return, company. The trick is simply the V has got to be much bigger for the company than the S you ask for. Yeah. You can ask for a $500,000 salary if you want. If you're bringing them $5 million in revenue, they probably don't have much of a problem with that. It's basic math, right? I mean, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, when I say, like, when we talk about value, it's always subjective, right? Depending on who the hiring manager is and what that position actually requires. But I know for a fact, because they've told me, because I work for them now, but my PMP and my certifications in HR were a very big, deciding factor. They even told me, though, that my PMP was more of a deciding factor because in our world, in the HR world, a lot of people have HR certifications, but not every HR person knows how to run projects. And so, that's kind of the reason why I stood out a little bit. So for me, the aPHR was something to help myself to be able to talk the talk and walk the walk and hang in there with all these seasoned civilian HR professionals. But, adding on a little bit more, that PMP, that really has helped me stand out. And within 10 months in the company, I called you guys and told you, hey, I got my first project lead. That's a big deal here in my company. So I think any certification that you can add on, you're going to show the value first in your interview. You'll explain what you've done and you're going to answer some sort of pain point for them, right? And then in your first, 180-day probation period, you'll be able to show them what you actually bring to the company. And also, I think the continuing education helps too, because every night I leave here and I have a notebook that I keep with me, and I write down everything that I don't know. And so, and you guys know I don't sleep, unfortunately. And so I'll just go and research what I don't know. And I'll take I've earned so many CEUs, like 1 hour CEUs, because I'm doing all this other research. And you read a book and you get a CEU, PMP does that as well. So yeah, I know that the value that I bring to the company, and it's definitely embedded in the education that I invested, not just my bachelor's degree, probably not at all my bachelor's degree, but definitely my certifications.
Well, some of the biggest projects I ever worked on were HR projects. I couldn't spell HR, and I'm talking about the acronym. But we had data scientists and we had psychometricians on the project. And we had some high-powered brains on the project, but they were the HR professionals. They wrote the climate survey. My role as the project manager was, hey, dude, deliver a new climate survey, right? And that's a reality too, especially post-COVID, decimation. The reality is, I don't care what kind of ex-professional you are or think you are going to get tasked to either participate in a project or lead a project. So you might as well quantify and qualify any project management experience you've had, like you, Misty, highlight it, certify that experience too as legitimate through some certification. And frankly, the certification doesn't matter. I don't care if you get a PMP, an ACP, a PSM, pick one of 19, pick one. Somebody said, I looked at their experience, Misty took a test and studied our material, and she took a professional certification, and she is one of these professionals. The hiring manager doesn't, frankly, almost care what the cert is.
No.
You say you're a PM. Do you have a PM credential? I do indeed. Here's my expiration date. Here's my certificate number. Check. Hey, send that down the hall to HR. We can hire this person. That's literally as much thought as most of them are putting into it, right? But
yeah, and I can tell you, I can only speak for my company, but I work with, we're a global company, so we've been around for 150 years. So I work with tons and tons of recruiters, and I should say I'm blessed because I've been given opportunities that most new people haven't been given. And I know that that's because of my experience and, how I invest in myself. But we don't look at what kind of HR cert you get. We don't care if it comes from SHRM or HRCI. We look at the fact that you put in some time, energy, and money into your development. And I think the most important part is that we know that you have to do it again over and over. Because in order to stay certified, you have to do your CEUs and PDUs. So those are the conversations that after you leave the interview, we have. And I wanted to say, kind of another thing about why everyone should consider some sort of certification in HR. I'm going to go out on a limb, and I'm probably not going to do this accurately, but I would say that 95% of the conflicts, of the issues that I endure every single day that I help solve are because of managers not knowing the laws.
Ooh, that's a good one. Yeah, you're probably right. And you said something really cool. You have to invest in yourself.
Yes.
Right. And I thought that was kind of a really good foothold to just jump into. Hey, you're used to Uncle Sugar paying for everything, but you may just have to pay for it for yourself so that you can get ahead. And like you said, you stood out, and this aPHR will help keep you out of hot water and prevent conflicts in your organization. So, wow, that's powerful.
And you can probably get a free course on Linda or YouTube or something, but it ain't Misty teaching it. It ain't some gal with experience in uniform and at a Fortune 500, you know what I mean, who's got in-depth knowledge of both systems. Look, man, I'm a big fan of free too, but I'm also a big fan of getting the value I expect when I pay for something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
I was going to say, I didn't mean to cut you off, sorry, but with the aPHR, total transparency, first time writing a course, and there's, just like Jeremy said, there's so many things that I'm like, oh, I can't wait to do, to improve the course. And so we're in our second iteration, but there's only so much exciting things you can do with like vocab. You know what I mean? And so I'm just learning through that and taking some other courses on how to make videos a little bit more exciting and learning from you guys. And so the course that you get, I think it's perfectly priced for what you get. And however, for what you physically get, like on demand and in the resources. But, you know, we have a LinkedIn group that we all connect, and every morning I put in a new resource or something in there for you. And then also office hours, if anyone would like me to assist them with teaching, with learning, I can do that as well. And I have done that. And I've also, now Kathy is the expert, but I've also reviewed other people's resumes just to see if they're kind of on the right track as capturing their accomplishments. But the course involves so much more, and Vets to PM just provides the total package. It's not just a certification course. In fact, I would say that's probably the least thing that we provide, right? We provide so much more, so.
You know, and for those of you in the crowd who don't know Misty, in case you can't tell, Burdick and I are obviously huge Moreno fans. The gal is like Godzilla in Tokyo, man. She just crushes everything she puts her mind to. But one of the reasons she fits in the tribe so well, and one of the things we hear on the weekly at Vets to PM is, there's lots of authorized training providers of lots of professional certificates. We're just like thousands of other companies.
Yes.
Our stuff is approved, it's priced accordingly, but we are constantly told what our students see, and what they see is Misty, gang. You just heard her say it. What a shepherd. So you can have an instructor stand at the front of the room and read you a PowerPoint slide, or you can have somebody who gives a shit about you and your career and doesn't want you to make the same mistakes that she's made. She's going to teach you how to be an HR professional. She's going to teach you how to be a civilian grown-up employee. She's going to teach you, oh yeah, you're going to learn how to get a certification too. She's going to hold office hours for you in case you need a safety net, or you don't want to be that guy or gal that holds up the entire class and asks a dumb question. So you ask her the next day in the solace of you and her sitting in her virtual office. It's a community. It's a tribe. We're here to help you do meaningful and lucrative because we feel like you deserve it. You earned it, right? Nobody's going to give you a meaningful, lucrative career, but you wore our nation's cloth. You damn sure earned a right to a meaningful, lucrative career, but you got to put in the time and the effort and the work. So I just think, I've got goosebumps. That's, gang, for those of you that don't know her, look her up, connect with her on LinkedIn. That's why Misty's part of this tribe. It's not just run you through a certification class, boot stomp some answers to an exam, and have you go pass. Misty is now a mentor that you have for life, right?
Yeah, I agree with that. I agree, and I just, I care a lot. I would say when I retired from the military, I got really, really good at being very passionate about something that I'm not always necessarily good at, because there's nothing really on the line right now. And so that kind of tells me a lot about you guys as a company. I've never done this stuff before, and we're just kind of working through it. And you guys are attaching your name to it, which thank you so much. And that's why I do put the time, energy, and money into it. It's not perfect. It's going to get better. But I know that we have a bright future together. And as far as every student that comes through, I hate that, that I can't talk to every student, and I try to reach out and stuff, but everyone has lives. But I'm here, and we've talked about, holding a Saturday class where I actually teach it in real time. We can do that. I'm good on the weekends whenever I'm not teaching PMP. So yeah, I think you're getting a lot more than probably what you're monetarily investing. But if you're ready to invest mentally, you're going to get a lot out of it as well.
Good. Burdick and I can tell you, as a content creator, we're all artists to some degree, right? You're creative. And, my old man was quite an accomplished painter. And he used to tell me, son, sometimes you just got to quit putting paint on the canvas. Call the painting done and sell it, right? Just quit, you'll paint it for the rest of your life. So, and what a tribute to, the unspoken there is, man, what a tribute to dedication, excellence, commitment to our customer. Hey, I want you to take the best damn HR course you can possibly take. And I'm going to continue putting paint on the canvas until they roll me in a hole. I mean, again, right? Like I just don't know how you replace something like that. I think people all the time, you know, when I meet folks on airplanes and in airports and stuff, and we're talking about business and finances and stuff like that. I think that's part of our lightning in a bottle, man. At Vets at PM, every person on a team is either a vet, married to a vet, the son or daughter of a vet. Like, you know what I mean? Like, we're all in the mafia. It all matters. You're not just a student and it's not just a course. You're one of our brothers and sisters and it's your future. And we only help brothers and sisters get good futures. So like, you're in our club.
And
you know, and what a living manifestation of that, Misty is, right?
Yeah, and just, I mean, thank you for that, but I don't feel like anything special, but I'm a Vets to PM success story too. So I think that's important for people to know. There's so many different organizations out there and they're all doing great things. I chose Vets to PM because I had a command chief, I've been out for so long, I don't even know anymore. What's his name? He was the command chief of AFCENT. But anyway, I was actually his project manager on his visit. And, you know, we were walking through the halls and he said, hey, you know, I heard you the other day, you were telling your husband how, you know, you want to retire. And I was like, oh gosh, you heard that on the phone? And he's like, yeah. And I was like, yeah, I'm ready. I need something else. You know, I'm not passionate. And then I kind of went into a couple of things that were happening at the time. And he's like, hey, I don't know if you've ever heard of, you know, project management certification or Vets to PM, but I'm taking, you know, their course right now and going through the certification. And, you know, are you interested? And I was like, yeah, I'm interested. Just send it to me. And I was like, yeah, he'll never, whatever, right? He talks to everybody. I honestly thought that. I was like, he's not going to remember. Within probably 45 minutes, he sent me the link to Vets to PM and gave me all of his notes that he had about how to do the Air Force School, gave me Jeremy's number, an email and all that stuff. And so I think within like 5 days, I was signed up for the certification. And so that was the first thing I learned about them. You know, I honestly didn't really know what I was doing. But then like it was immediate communication from the beginning. Jeremy was helping me do my Air Force School. And then Kathy was sending me, you know, Excel documents to do my resume. And then I can't remember who it was at the time. It was not Garrick, but someone was sending me to do the application translator. And I mean, from the second that I signed up to when I certified and even just and beyond being put on the job boards and stuff like that, I've received outstanding, you know, customer service and support, but also just good conversations. You know, Jeremy and I have had a couple conversations just to talk about my experience. And I just felt some sort of purpose because I honestly didn't know what I wanted to do when I grew up after the military. And so I'm a Vets to PM success story too. And I say that because it matters. I want you guys to have the blessings and the experiences that I've had. And I'm not just saying this, but I go to bed every night thanking God for Vets to PM, for creating something that gave me a quick win, because I had everything I needed to pass the PMP, you know, first time. And mind you, I'm not bragging, but I'm sort of bragging because it kind of talks about the 30-day study plan, but I finished the test in less than 30 minutes. So, wow. You know, and that was before this one, you know, with all the equations and stuff. But I think the study plan that we provide you, if you follow it, if you do everything, if you read the glossary 3 times and you read the material and you go through your brain dump and you do the 50 questions, if you do it, if you do the prescription, you take the prescription, you'll pass, you'll validate your experience. And that will be enough to lead projects in the civilian sector. But that quick win gave me the confidence to do more, you know, and not just accept the DoD route. You know, and then because Kathy did my resume, I had my kind of LinkedIn profile all ready to go. I just had to, you know, take it out of the resume and boom, I got recruited from Continental. Didn't even know Continental existed in Sumter. And here I am almost 2 years later. So I feel very blessed, and I don't say that bragging, but I say that I had an organization that helped me and you guys continue to help. So now it's my turn to give back.
Yep.
So wherever you're at, Command Chief, thank you so much. We love you and appreciate you for turning Misty on to us. She's become an amazing strategic asset. And the second thing is too, Misty, you also embody what I tell folks all the time. Like, look, because there's a big prairie fire raging across LinkedIn about, hey, just because you let Misty doesn't mean you're a project manager. Just you have a PFP doesn't mean shit. Like, whatever. What I know is I take E8s all the time. Good, they go from kicking in doors to putting on suits and opening boardroom doors and leading project status meetings. So, and I get it. Not everybody wants to grow up and be a project manager. That's a whole different conversation. And I get it. Just because you have a piece of paper certifying you as something doesn't mean you can't be a shitbag and be a lousy professional too. There's bad apples everywhere. However, what I will say is, just like your HR experience, you might as well get credit for the experience you have. Yep. You may not want to grow up and be a project manager, but gee whiz, if you go be a damn fine accountant who knows how to manage projects, they can pay you more salary than you'd net as just an accountant, because they don't have to pay an accountant and a project manager. So they're going to pay you a wee bit more because you're going to do 2 jobs for the price of 1, and nobody's going to complain a bit about the whole thing. So, the fact that you turned on to project management, it allowed you to certify and speak in a very sought after civilian career, that you could land into the Civ Div, execute the PLF successfully without breaking anything, get your bearings, and then figure out what you wanted to go be as you continued growing up. I mean, and I tell folks all the time, that'll help you get out of your head. A nice consistent paycheck that you think is commensurate with your X number of years in uniform, man, I'm not saying you still don't have to get your heart right and your head right and your spirit right with not wearing a cloth anymore, but gee whiz, man, it sure takes a lot of pressure off. You put gas in the tank, regardless of what the price of gas is these days. You could put gas in the tank and you could put food on the table and you could do it consistently. Man, there's a lot to be said for that. And you feel like what you do matters every day.
And I get
not a bad place to grow from.
No, and I get to, I don't want to say like retire my husband because he retired from the military, but you guys know, but he doesn't work now, and he's always wanted to be a stay-at-home dad and a stay-at-home husband, and he does a great job at that, and he gets to do that because I am earning a lucrative career, and I mean, we're very blessed anyway, 2 retirements, and but still, we don't have to worry about anything like that, and he could do what he needs to do so he can be a happy human being. You know what I mean? Cool. Yeah, I'm very blessed, and I give all the praises to who's in charge, but it's definitely all started because of that TPM, and then also because Doc didn't want to read the H box. So you remember you showed that to me?
Yes.
You're like, I don't want to read this. I was like, I'll read it.
Right. Oh,
well, I mean, but that's how we do it at Vets PM, right? Like I learned very early on in my PhD beating that, hey man, nobody cares what you think. You're going to tell us what the experts think, and then you're going to draw a conclusion, and then you're going to go prove it or disprove it. And if you're smart, you'll set it up to disprove it first, right? Because it's not really there. The phenomena doesn't exist. Well, that was quite a beating for me. I overestimated my own capabilities and underestimated the scope of what I was doing. And by the time I figured out I had no business being in the program, it was like I only had 6 more months to go before they either kicked me out, I failed, or I succeeded. So at that point, I figured, what the hell? I might as well try and write it out. But they taught me very early on, stay in your lane, and your lane is ½ an inch wide. Stay there, right? So when we started hearing from vets, hey man, what if I don't want to do project management? I'm a first shirt. I'm a command chief. I'm chief of the boat. I'm the company commander. I'm the XO. I want to go do HR. Hey, I want to go be a general manager. I want to be an ops boss. We hear that all the time. I want to be an ops boss. Well, because everybody knows what that is, right? I quickly figured out, like, hey man, Burdick, what do we do here, bro? Like, I can put together a course to pass any exam. In fact, I even started down the Sec Plus road. But one of the things, for those of you listening, and watching Misty, is she is that professional. I've been the veteran. I codified my experience that's applicable in the civilian profession. I certified that experience legitimate with a civilian credential, and now I am that professional. I could teach you how to pin on an aPHR, but I'm no HR guru. I'm a project management guy. That's my lane of expertise.
Yeah.
So, and now that's just our business model. When we offer a new course, because some E804 says, hey, you know what would be great? It's this new course, and we validate that there's an opportunity there. We write a book, we create a course, we sell the course. I mean, and we recruit vets that have become that thing. You know, vets to PM started out as veterans to project managers. Now it's vets to professional managers. That's kind of how we talk about our shop now, because think about it. How many occupations from E6 to 05 do you think project management, general management, HR management, and information assurance, awareness management, cybersecurity, Sec Plus management? I mean, that covered like 40+% of all the folks getting out every year. Now you got options. Meaningful, lucrative could be a couple different things.
Yeah.
That's
And
right.
I would say if you're considering HR in the civilian sector, you know, let's talk. And so I'd love to talk, and I've held like Zoom meetings, and we can talk, because there are definitely a couple things that, you know, that everyone needs to consider, because just because you were a leader and a supervisor doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to enjoy yourself in the human resources industry. And so there's a couple of questions that I always ask veterans that are considering, you know, HR. The first thing is, what did you enjoy doing the most in the military? And that's part of one of our free resources that we have in Vets to PM, the transition guideline or guide, right? But yeah, what did you enjoy doing the most? And if that involves people, then that's a good start, right? And then what did you enjoy the least? If that involves people, that's also a good start, because people cannot be a pain point. And I'm not just talking about the people that you're going to deal with every single day. You know, you're going to have to deal with, just like in the military, you're going to have to deal with your higher ups, you'll have to deal with your peers, you know, and you'll have to deal with like the lateral leaders, and then the people, you know, your subordinates and stuff like that. And so definitely want to make sure that all aspects of people is something that you enjoy dealing with, or at least like the 80-20 rule, right? And then you also have to get really good at being able to recommend, and then sit back and kind of watch what, you know what I mean? Like watch the fire burn if they don't take your recommendations, or if it doesn't work out. You know, most of the time it does work out. You just have to get really good at recommending and people not following through with your recommendations. You have to get really good at, you know, maybe not being considered a strategic partner, because HR, we are taking on a new role now. Thanks to COVID, thank you. That's the best thing that could have ever happened to human resources, because now we're being asked to, you know, sit at the table, and I don't even need to wait for a chair. I'll just bring my own chair because I belong here, you know? So yeah, I think you have to ask yourself, like, are people a pain point for you? And you have to be really honest. Be honest with yourself, because the civilian community is not going to put up with you being an a-hole. So you had a lot of chances in the military, and because of your rank, you probably had a lot of grace, not in the civilian world, you know. And I know that there's a lot of talk out there that maybe civilians don't hold people accountable. I just haven't seen that, you know. People are called out on their BS. And so if you come into an organization and you're treating their resource, which are their people, you know, like they don't matter, then yeah, we're going to have an issue. So be honest with yourself and make sure that people are, you know, are something that you actually enjoy dealing with. And then just know that it is a little different than having, you know, I've talked to Jeremy about this, you know, when you walk into a room as an HR professional, or even as a civilian leader, people don't necessarily stand for you. You know, they don't just do whatever you ask for, you know, they prioritize it, so, something like that. So it is a little different, but HR is for the person that truly wants to help people on the job and beyond the job, you know, in the office and out of the office. And also HR, like every single thing that I deal with every day with people, it resides rent-free in my head. And so I have a lot to deal with anyway, just from past experiences in the military, but now I have this. So if you're not emotionally organized and emotionally stable, you might want to, you know, reconsider, because just HR, I mean, Jeremy knows, you hear everyone's ups and downs, and that lives inside you forever. So I love HR. It's definitely, I believe that it's the talent that, my creator has given me. But I also love HR projects. And so what a great blend. Yeah. And I feel like I now have the right skill set. Like 2 years into the civilian industry, I feel like I actually have a complete skill set that I can build on. And I'm ready for more. So.
Wow.
So if you're listening to this and you don't want an HR grievance filed on you as your first supervisor job because you knife-handed one of your employees during a counseling session and she cried, and I mean, I didn't do that. I had a friend who that happened to. But so yeah, take her course.
Yeah.
It's a lot less painful than the grievance.
So powerful though, right? I mean, just being honest with yourself is a really good first step. Do you like and want to help people be the best versions of themselves to help the company create value? If that's you, maybe the aPHR course is good for you to start your journey as an aPHR or a PHR or an HR professional. Secondly, if you're going to lead, manage, work with other people, you may take it just so that you keep yourself out of hot water, which is always cool as well. And you put another certification behind your name and you stand out. Like Misty said in the very beginning of this, what she thought got her the job was having a couple credentials plus a degree. So 19 seconds, I think, is the average they spend on resumes. So most everybody in this stack has a degree. Okay, now I'm going to make this stack smaller. How do I make that stack smaller? I look for certifications. Bang. Okay, now these people have this certification. Now I've got a really small stack. Which one do I think that presents the most value to our company? Let's move those down the hall. So
most recruiters go bottom up.
There you go.
We read bottom up.
That's
wow. Why is that? So tell us a secret.
Yeah, so it's something that someone here taught me, but I actually used to do that. I don't know if you did this, Jeremy, when you read award packages and stuff, but I read bottom up because the most important stuff that I need to know legally is, if the job posting requires a degree, I need to make sure that you have that, because if you don't have that, then I can't spend any time on this. And I know it sounds harsh, but unfortunately that's the way it is. I know there's a lot of talk on LinkedIn, like, oh, degrees, don't matter, so on and so forth. Well, guess what? The laws haven't caught up for it. And so until we can come up with an objective way of choosing people, we have to have, some qualifiers, and a degree is a qualifier. So to any veteran that is listening to this, if you haven't gotten your degree yet, please go get it. Please. Please go get it. But I read bottom up because it tells their education is always on the bottom. So that way if you don't have so I did it this morning. I had a job posting that required a bachelor's degree and I had it right here, and then I have the posting and all right, bachelor's degree, bottom up. And it said associate's degree.
Go on.
See, and that's the thing a lot of people don't understand. It's nothing personal.
No.
But it's a law. So if the job description says you have to have this, this, and this, because some smart cat like Misty's looked at it and worked with the functional manager and worked inside the law and the company's policies and procedures, and they've written a job announcement, man, you can bitch, argue, moan, and fight me about you ain't going back to college because you get in a 24-year career and you didn't need it then. Hey, man, then don't. I don't care. However, you can't complain about when they pass over you. And that's the thing. When I used to do hiring, Misty, and you're talking about an HR, hey, look, man, when I've got 64 applications for one open position, my objective is not to take 64 applications and find the 15 cats I'm interviewing. My first objective is to make 64 15, is to make a big stack, a smaller stack that I can manage. Yep. And so if I've got a list of requirements, I do what you said, Misty. I just start with the top of the stack. I don't even look at the people's names because I don't want to know what their name is when I throw the resume literally on the floor. Here's the criteria. 4 things. Oh, you don't have the 4 things? Floor, 4 things. Cool. Short stack. Floor. Oh, wait. 4 things plus an extra shiny thing? Short stack. One that was on the short stack? Floor. And I'm not trying to be a jerk. I'm just, you know what I mean? And by the time I'm done, the super shiniest, based on criteria alone is the short stack. Now I'm going to interview them to see the human. Now I want to know their names. Now I'm going to look them up on LinkedIn. Now I'm going to go do some research to make sure that they fit culturally with the company. Right,
Yes.
wrong, or indifferent, man. Got to make short stack first.
It's so important, and it's nothing personal, but it's the only way that, well, I shouldn't say it's the only way. It's one way that we can try to avoid any sort of, litigations, any hiring litigations or unfair practices, stuff like that. So we have basic requirements and preferred requirements. And basics, if a bachelor's degree in business administration or related field is in a basic requirement and you only have an associate, I would actually tell you, like, don't waste your time applying. Now there are other things you can do. You can maybe find the hiring manager on LinkedIn, or find a recruiter and talk to him like, hey, I only have an associate's, but I have a PMP and I have an aPHR and I have this, and I'm taking classes now, whatever it may be. And if you have that connection, that'll help you. But if you're really just kind of going on LinkedIn or Indeed and applying, I would tell you just not to waste your time, or go ahead and apply, but expectation management. If a basic requirement is a degree, then we need that, because the degree, one, it helps us, stay fair and consistent in our hiring practices. And two, a lot of pay bands are attached to degrees. And so for instance, the pay band that I'm in, you have to have a degree. So I wouldn't be achieving a lucrative career if I didn't have a degree. So yes, certifications are truly important too, but you won't see, for the most part, you're not going to see a certification as a basic requirement, but you'll definitely see it as a preferred.
And it's about a conversation. And all you're trying to do is get Misty to get you in the short stack first, then to get you in an interview and talk to you, and you stand out. That's how the process is, right? It's first I got to get the interview. Then I got to go to the interview and get called back. Then I got to land the job. Then I got to perform, right? So, like the bachelor's requirement, go down to your local community college, sign up for a business administration 101 course, or a management 101 course, or a marketing 102 course, and get the counselor to tell you when you would be done with 42 more units, May of 2027. And now put that on your resume. Hey, I know you guys said I need a bachelor's degree in business administration. I'm currently pursuing mine and expect to have it on said date. You at least can get yourself into the conversation. Make them say, no thanks, kid, pat you on the head and turn you away. Because you may just shine through as somebody that, they're not qualified yet, but they understand that and they're going to get qualified. I mean, I can't tell you how many times in my own career they said, okay, I'll tell you what, kid, I'll hire you, but we don't talk about your next pay raise until you get X degree, or you get X certification, or you get whatever. When I was at university, they said, hey, you're a faculty. And I said, hey, great. And they said, hey, you want to be a chair? And I said, well, I'm not really. And they said, well, if you want to be, here's the paycheck, wink, wink. And if you want to be, here's the degree.
Yeah.
So I just started the degree, and they started grooming me. And then when I finished the degree, it was almost a formality. As soon as I showed him the degree, the HR gal checked the block, and within 3 weeks, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's that important. It's that important. So I know that there's a lot of camps out there that say it's not. And the company that I work for, we're a global company, and we have, 286,000 employees was the last number, I think. We have 1,350 here. So yeah, we don't have the luxury to, unfortunately, personally address each one's, requirements and credentials and see. So we have to do what we do. And that's, if you have a bachelor's, cool, you make it into the other stack. And then I have a process of my own, but other people, they're so good at it. But I first do the education requirements, and then I do other stuff. So, but it's important. But I would also like to just, say quickly, getting the PMP and getting the aPHR, it was way more about just developing me as a person. And I know that my husband's probably not going to like this, but I use the PMP all the time at home. And then even the aPHR, I'm trying to branch out and do different things. And so I'm really able to have conversations now with, like, I just went, and Jeremy knows, I just went to a local college, Central Carolina Technical College, and trying to build some relationships there and get involved. And I was able to truly talk the language of what it takes to write a grant proposal and, all the HR terms and stuff like that, because I'm continually developing myself, and the certification has helped me do that. But it's also, the magic has happened. I'm investing more time, energy, and money, absolutely, and money into myself to achieve these CEUs and PDUs, where I can, like I told you, I don't need a chair. I'll bring my own chair, but I need to be welcome to the table, right? I need to be accepted. And I believe that I am, because of my credentials and my experience. So I validated my experience, and now I'm earning a lucrative career, and I'm being, asked to do a little bit more too. And it all just started with my first certification. So if you're on the fence, definitely, look us up. And if you want a quick win, I would say our CAPM and our aPHR are probably your quickest wins. And I think you should start there. It's just all about getting, your feet wet, and also giving you the confidence to continue. The people with PTSD, the veterans with PTSD, are not the only ones that struggle, guys. They're not the only ones that struggle. And so get some quick wins under your belt. And so you can really start, earning your lucrative career, or doing what you've always wanted to do outside the military.
Wow. Well, I think with that, it's a good place to end the show. And I think your advice and recommendations and all the words of wisdom were spot on. Doc, any final words before we cut this down?
I would just recommend to the listeners that they read her book too. I mean, if you thought she was great on a podcast, read her book, How to Get Shit Done, right? Like, she's the same no holds barred gal in the book. And, she's just I'm a big fan.
Aww.
I agree.
Well, I appreciate that. Thank you. Very humbled and very, very blessed. So
yeah, you can get her book on Amazon. I've got my copy. I know it was super cool. Look up Misty Moreno, and really a powerhouse, right? Talk about PMP. She's got the aPHR, and she's an instructor for both. So thank you so much for having and taking your time with us today and with our audience.
thank you.
Thank you for tuning in and spending a bit of time with us at the Military Transition Academy, powered by Vets to PM. If we piqued your interest, but you want more details, please head over to the website vetstopm.com and see if we can help prepare you for a better tomorrow or a future meaningful and lucrative career.